Cool. So we're going to start off with a quick poll. I just want you guys to answer all the questions here. I think there's 10 or 11. Just answer all the questions, and when you are done, I will end the poll. Right. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, okay. Looks like two more people are. All right. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. So it looks like everybody has been a supervisor in the past, which is good, or is a supervisor right now. So, as you see, we have a wide variety of answers, so this is great. And this will help us in the future when we're talking about what next thinking actually is. So let's get this poll out of the way and move on. So we are actually in a really interesting point in the workforce right now. We have three generations. That's typical in a workforce. Some places can have up to five, especially like in a retail environment. But right now, in your typical Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you're going to see three generations in a workplace. So we have baby boomers, which were born from 1945 to 1964. We have Generation X, 1965 to 1980, and we have millennials, 1980s to 2000. This is 2018, so beginning of next year, we are going to see a post-millennial generation join us. So there's actually going to be four generations in the workforce. And the crazy thing about that is these generations, obviously, we think very differently on how we should work and how we should interact with each other while we're at work. And that's where the next thinking sort of comes into play, and old thinking and new thinking as well. So this is the model that we're going to be sort of talking about today. So this is like organizational mindset, and we have old thinking, new thinking, and next thinking. And in all the research that's been done and everything that I was reading actually today, old thinking, new thinking, and next thinking really aligns with what generation that you're in. So old thinking, the view of employees are that the employees are the biggest risk. We sort of shifted towards employees are our biggest assets. And then now next thinking, employees are partners in the journey of life. And I think that's the biggest, how you can sort of accredit that is millennial generation and later Gen X generations as well. They're not staying in positions as long as the baby boomers did. Baby boomers usually got a job out of college, stayed in that role until they retired. Now you're not seeing that. Organizational communication, old thinking, it's very top down, and you listen to, executive team makes a decision, it gets put down to directors, to middle management, to the worker. That's how it is. New thinking, open communication, everybody sort of has a voice. And then next thinking, honest communication. So one big thing that employees want now is honest feedback. They want on the spot feedback, and they want to know what they can do better and how they can improve in their job. Employee behaviors. Old thinking was skills over behavior. So meaning, you come to work to do your job, you put your skills forward, and then you leave. New thinking was more behavior over skills, a little bit more communication in the position, and now it is intention over behavior. Working schedule, old thinking used to think it was a rigid, set in stone schedule. Whatever your boss told you to do, that's what you did. That's when you came in. Flexible schedules is now what we're sort of in with this new thinking. And, you can work 4/10s. You can work from home. You could be very flexible in your job. But now, the next thinking is actually the focus on the efficiency of the employee instead of, setting them to a schedule. There's a lot of companies, especially in California, like where I worked, where people wouldn't come in during the day because they could get most of their work done at an hour, like from 3 to 7 in the morning. Or they think better or they work better at night, where you would typically have employees come in during the day, but not all organizations are thinking like that anymore. And what your organization should enrich, that's definitely changing. Your old thinking was shareholders. New thinking is the lives of the employee, thinking more of a work-life balance. And the new thinking is everybody's own mind. So what is the employer doing to help the employee become a little bit more mindful in their day-to-day job? What should employees strive for? Old thinking was always seeking a higher salary, moving up the ladder. New thinking is a higher decision making role. And now new thinking, employees seek meaning in their job. We're seeing that a lot. That's how millennials, according to a lot of studies, are finding their new positions. They're not money driven like the older generations were. An employee growth track was always growth in a position. The baby boomers, I think of my dad. He was an engineer, so he got a job out of college as an engineer. He was always an engineer until he retired. The new thinking, the Generation X, was growth in a career. So moving up a ladder, it might not be what you focused in college, but you always focus on the growth in the career. And now what they're seeing is they want growth in physical, mental, and spiritual prosperity in a job, in a career. So again, not money driven. It is more, how is it going to help me be a better person? The employees should view their career as, a livelihood. So the old thinking way, I'm doing this for my family, no matter how many hours that I'm working. Status and engagement is what they're thinking now. For the new thinking, you want that high job title and you want to be engaged with others to sort of brag about it. And then the next thinking is an opportunity for the purification of the mind. So can I go to work? Can I be happy with myself with the work that I'm doing? And at the end of the day, be satisfied in my role. And then how employees view their coworkers. So old thinking was a colleague. We work together to get the job done. New thinking and what we're seeing now is everybody's a competitor. So everybody's trying to get to the top first. And next thinking is a co-traveler in a life in a path towards self-realization. So again, employees are not, or new thinking employees are not wanting to be with these people for more than 2 to 3 years is what we're seeing. So they're not really viewing these people as somebody who they're going to get close to. And then how employees view their daily task. Old thinking was they work for the weekend. New thinking, we're going to do something we love. But next thinking is, how am I going to be able to get through my work with heightened awareness? Sorry, controlling from my iPad. It's a little weird. So this is actually just a chart that was done by Twenge, Kimball, Hoffman, and Lance. And this shows the importance of values. And this was motivational values and, what these generations sort of get out of these 5 topics. And so as you see, millennials are more focused on a leisure-based motivation and reward system. So, they want a reward that's basically they're not going to have to work. And then with the boomers, it's more eccentric, so more driven by money. So what they saw was, working for bonuses, working overtime, trying to get more money is what they valued in a reward system. And then you look at Gen X, it's sort of funny because I look at Gen X and it's like right down the middle. They don't, they're sort of right in between for everything. The one really odd thing that stuck out in the paper and what shocked actually these researchers was the social aspect. So they thought that millennials would value social rewards a lot more, but what they're actually seeing is millennials have their own friends and they don't like to work. They don't like to mix work and friendship at home. So that's why it's not high. Where baby boomers actually, that's where they made most of their friends was at work, and so that's why they really valued that. So really interesting. So now I guess we won't really go into a breakout session, but I do, if everybody could become unmuted, we're going to talk about a scenario, and I want everybody to take one of the topics, old thinking, new thinking, and next thinking, and so we can discuss this scenario and how each group would actually think about this. So we'll move to next. So this is actually something that happened to me. This is my friend Joey, and the U.S. men's soccer team was here, and it was like a 4 o'clock game on a Thursday, and he wanted to skip out of work. And so let's talk about what old thinking, new thinking, and next thinking would think about him skipping out of work early to go to a soccer game. So I guess Joni, you can start. Everybody else is muted right now. So okay. So for old thinking, what do you think a boss would think about that?
Well, my father was in that category, and so I think that would be seen as inappropriate. That if there was enough of those incidents that it might be challenging for Joey to be considered for future positions that might be higher up. Yeah. And I think it would be a mark on his, like he would have to fib and say that it was a family emergency or something. Yeah. Because it wouldn't be considered legitimate reason to leave work.
Yeah. I wholeheartily agree with that. Delray, can you hear us or?
Yeah, I can. You don't want me to unmute. I'm coughing like crazy, so I was just trying to stay muted to avoid, any kind of problems here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. Like I said, I've been sick, but I would think I'm more in the probably not millennial. I'm Generation X.
Sure.
And so personally, I think it would depend on your job. Mm-hmm. And if you're on salary or if you're on hourly, because if you're on hourly, you're getting paid to be there. If you're on salary, you're getting paid to do a job. And so I'm thinking, in that terms of the new thinking, that I would probably be, if I was on salary, it would be okay if I had finished everything.
Yeah.
But if I was on hourly, sorry, you're here for a scheduled time.
Sure. Okay.
I was thinking of adding.
Of course.
I was thinking of adding, because I'm a Gen Xer, and so I was thinking that I would get an extra ticket, and I would invite my employer to attend with me.
That would be smart. That would be a smart thing to do. Yeah. Danny, can you unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know my mic worked on this computer. It's good to know. I don't know. I guess nowadays there's so many bosses out there in different industries that might fit into one of these categories, but they're trying to pull off the millennial manager.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to, be cool for their employees. So I think it's a difficult decision because you want to fit in with your employees and, not look like the mean boss who's got the old mindset. But a lot of good points have been made as to whether or not, is he hourly, is he salary, can he get his work done early, does he have to be there to close the store, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, in my opinion, the biggest issues come about when there's managers who don't know which of these categories they fall into, and they have a hard time kind of faking it.
Yeah. Good. I agree. Right now, I work for a manager who, she's a Gen X manager, but she's the one who actually shared this next thinking with me. So she sort of sees that. So she, when I asked her if I could skip out early to go to the game, she was more just worried about the efficiency part of it. Is everything done that needs to be done before you take off? So, so it was cool, but yeah, there's definitely, you could see from generation to generation and from thought processes that it's, it could definitely affect whether or not, you can skip out to go to the game. So, you guys sort of hit on it, but any examples of thinkings from the past that you've either used or that has been used against you, for disciplinary reasons or, reasons why you can't do anything, such as, skip out early to go to the game?
This is Delray. My job is personally totally flexible. I work from home, and I have certain things that I have to get done, and I am on salary. But if I don't get them done, then there's a problem. But if I do, my boss doesn't even know when I'm working, honestly. As long as I answer my phone between 8 and 4, or at least return the calls between 8 and 4, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I make appointments. I do whatever else I need to do.
I know that when I worked at my first HR job in Michigan, actually, they were very rigid, and if you weren't in by 8 o'clock, then you're getting talked to, and if you did not stay until 5 o'clock, then again, you're getting talked to. And, I always think back to that position and just how much I hated it because they were so strict and, about things as silly as time.
I think that's totally true because it's a complete new mindset for me with this job because I've never had that kind of flexibility and I still find myself glued to my desk.
Yeah.
When I know that I don't have to be, but it's still hard for me to take that flexibility.
Sure.
Because I have been in the workforce for 20 some odd years and had that rigid schedule of this is when you're here, this is when you leave. And, these are your breaks and that kind of thing. And so it is it's a very different mindset, and to wrap your head around it. I've got friends who will go to the beach and work from the beach. They want to, and I can't get there yet.
Yeah.
I'm working on it, but it is definitely a different mindset.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Absolutely.
I was just going to share that my husband and my eldest daughter are in a musical production of 9 to 5. And so I'm thinking about how the people in 9 to 5 are definitely living that old thinking
Yes.
model. I mean, even older than that old thinking model.
Right. Yeah. The traditionalist model. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well, that's going to do it, actually. Did we have any questions or comments before we wrap up?
I'm curious about, Craig, how you use this information in your work then. Has it changed sort of the way you approach the people that you work with?
Yeah, so so I work for a nonprofit here in Denver, and we are trying to really focus on this next thinking. It is tough because part of our nonprofit is a school. So with teachers, you can't necessarily be, very flexible and everything else like that. But for the rest of the staff, we have research and evaluation arms. We have community-based services, and we have a pretty large admin staff as well. We're trying to focus get our supervisors here to start focusing on the work efficiency rather than trying to set a schedule with their workers, and trying to think of newer rewards that we can give to individuals instead of like the yearly party that we throw for them and the the other incentives that we might give, like early closures and things like that. Like, what can we do to actually make our staff happier? So one thing we did is we did open a gym here on site, and that has been a lot of positive feedback that we've gotten. So,
may I ask one more follow-up?
yes.
Is that since you have all of these different people in the workplace, are there I remember people saying, well, you've got to go through, all of the negative things that I went through. It's not fair if you don't have to go through the challenges and the struggles that I went through. And so do you feel like there's any sort of feelings of inequity of, where people that's not fair, that's not right?
Yeah, definitely. And when we discuss equity here, we try to always remind people, especially the supervisors, that generational inequity doesn't really apply to the workforce anymore, because we value something totally different than what you may have valued or the generation before you may have valued. So when we are talking about equity, we try to throw out the generational differences and biases that we may have. So yes, but we've definitely had that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for joining today. If you have any follow-up questions, you can always send me an email, and I will post this video if you want to rewatch it. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.